worked out, and it's very, very hard to do. I've been working on it for 8 months, and it's still not done because it's really technically difficult, and we finally figured out how to do it. And all the money raised at this raffle this weekend is going to build Hypnothoughts and make it better for all of you. So, thank you all too. So we're going to keep hounding you all weekend. So if you think you're done buying raffle tickets, wait till you meet Fabio. But I'd like to just get into this. So, on to the keynote. Okay. Just for the sake of those. So I've been coming to hypnosis conferences for 14 years. I've been coming to these things since 1998, and there are people in this room who met me at that first conference. And there are people who are at this conference because they were really good to me and really supportive of me at my first conference. And I know for some of you this is your first conference, and I'd like to say welcome to you guys, and I'm really glad you're here. I know that, yeah, sure. I know there are a lot of you who've been to a lot of conferences like I have, and I know there are quite a few of you who I've seen over the last 15 years. And then we created, 6 years ago, Hypnothoughts.com. And 7 years ago, I was sitting at the IMDHA conference in Florida with a few people who were in this room. And we were talking about the potential of building a site like that. And I was telling them what I was excited about, and I was telling them what my ideas were, and their honest assessment was the same as mine, which was, if you work really hard on this, and you get lucky, someday you will get to have 500 members. And that was the goal of Hypnothoughts.com, was to build something that would be worth 500 members someday. This week we will hit 13,000. And we get 200 new members a month every single month for the last 5 years. And what's important about that is we have never spent a nickel advertising Hypnothoughts.com. 100% of the people who've shown up have shown up because you've invited them. You, the instructors in this room, have told your students upon graduation, you should go check out this site. Those of you who just run into each other at conferences or emails or practice groups have said, Hypnothoughts is useful. And this is a conference for people who like Hypnothoughts. Now when we said we were going to build a conference, and even while Hypnothoughts was starting to build before we even had the ambition of doing this, people were saying to me, well, whatever happens on Hypnothoughts reflects your view of hypnosis. And whatever classes are being taught at Hypnothoughts Live represent your view of how hypnosis should be as an industry and as a profession. And we chose intentionally to not do that. There are people presenting this weekend who I disagree with on the topic they're teaching, and I think they're wrong. That doesn't mean they're wrong, that means we disagree. There are people presenting at Hypnothoughts Live this weekend who don't like me. And you are hearing me right now, and you're nodding. And that's okay. In fact, yeah, see, there's one. There are people who we intentionally went out of our way to invite to come, and we offered them a free exhibit booth because we know they don't like me. And the reason for that is simple. We think the disagreement is the important thing. We think the important thing about Hypnothoughts is that anybody can show up and share their mind, whether it's popular or not, whether it's correct or not. And we do our best to not censor. You know, we have great moderators, and by the way, deserve more than a round of applause. Kelly is right there, Richard is right there, and Cable is unfortunately not with us tonight. Thank you guys for doing just the worst part of Hypnothoughts. And the moderators collaboration that makes Hypnothoughts great is that it's such a light touch. And we allow people to say things that we disagree with as often as possible, because that disagreement, like I said, is the important thing. You know, we talk a lot about how we're effective communicators. And we talk about how hypnosis should be doing better as a profession because we're such great communicators. But I think we screw this up tremendously. Because half of communication is listening. And all we talk about is how good we are at talking. I think pacing is more important than leading, and that's where a lot of us miss the boat. We need to do better as a community with each other of respecting differing models of the world. We can do better as a community of pacing before we lead and listening to people we don't understand. That's half of communication. To me, that's where the money is. If you stopped listening to your clients today and did all the talking, what would your success rate be? What would your return follow-up client list look like? We love being heard. We love it. It's the most important part of communication. It's why we don't spend a lot of time talking to rocks. But a lot of hypnotists are certain. They're certain they know what should be taught. They're certain they know what should be done in an office. And they're certain they know what shouldn't be done. And I think certain is a dangerous thing to be. Because as soon as you're certain, you stop bringing in new data. And I see a lot of hypnotists who do that, which is why I love Hypnothoughts.com, and I love the membership of it, because it's people who get better at communicating their points. It's people who get better at listening to usually constructive feedback. It's people who get used to listening to different views. And to those of you who are relatively new to this industry, it's great that you guys are here at a time where technology lets it be easy for you to learn from different people. Now, when I was 15 years ago, when I was 18 learning this, there were a couple Yahoo groups, and they weren't very good technologically. Now, the content on them was great. And, you know, it's funny, John Chase and I were talking about the fact that he was telling me what to do in Yahoo group 15 years ago. Michael Eller was as well. A few other of you, Brian did as well. They were, and I listened to none of them. And they were cool, but technology is so much better now. I mean, just something as simple and stupid as Skype, right? How straightforward Skype is. And there are people I know who are practicing hypnotists who have never hypnotized anybody in person. They live in rural areas, and they've learned online, and they've learned how to pay attention to people in video chats, and they run hypnosis practices that way. I think that's so cool. And I think the idea that we can have a more level playing field where you don't have to just train with the person who's geographically near you is wonderful. The fact that you get to compare apples to apples and actually see what you like is really valuable. And that value is wasted when we stop listening. So the disagreement is important. The differing views is where the value is. You know, it's a famous saying, I never learned from somebody who agreed with me. You know, there's a lot of conferences. I've been to almost all of them. And they're really cool, and I like them, and I'm going to keep going. I hope you do too, and support them. But they come from an organization. They come from a certifying body. With the exception of Mid-America, really. Where is Carm? Carm, you're awesome wherever you are. I know you're in here. He's back there trying to be hidden. Carm's been doing the Mid-America versus conference. Yes, please, just so I know at the point. Thank you. Carm's been doing a great conference just outside of Chicago for quite a while now that isn't affiliated with the organization. And there's a lot of other great conferences, but the idea of somebody telling you how you should be, I'm going to try to get it done in just a couple minutes and get it out of the way, so you can hear people who disagree with me for the rest of the weekend. So I want to tell you what I think should be done in hypnosis. I think we're at a really interesting time in history of hypnosis. It's not the first time this has happened. It won't be the last time it happened. But I think we're at a really fascinating time with a great opportunity to make change. And I'd like you to just, while I'm talking about this, I'd like you to think about if hypnosis was your client and came to you with the complaints and the problems that our profession currently has, how would you listen to that before you gave your answers? So to me, we have a lot of great people who are robbed of the opportunity to be great at this. We have a lot of caring people who want to be good at hypnosis and never break even. We have a lot of people who study hard with the wrong people. And the entire time they're spending those thousands of dollars, they believe they're getting the education they need. And by the time they realize they're wrong, it's too late. They're out of money. There are people who just don't know what to do. And it's a real shame because these are people who want to help others. So what do I think should be done about it? Something that's not easy. Something that's not necessarily popular, and something that is definitely imperfect. But I think it's progress. I want to be very clear about this. I am not starting an organization. I'm not starting a certifying. We don't need another one. We have good ones. But I am going to tell you the standards that I would create if I was. And also, this is why I'm not, because most of you hate me. More of you hate me. So this is a challenge to all of you, and I would like you to all consider these standards. You don't have to agree with all of them. You don't have to agree with any of them. And if you do, you get nothing. It's a pretty good cost nothing. And it means when you shake my hand, it'll be a little bit cooler. And when you find somebody else who agrees with you, that handshake is a little bit cooler, because one of the best things about the hypnosis industry is this fraternity. Being able to sit in on another presenter who you've seen a dozen times and look at the nuances, look at the fundamentals, look at the little things at work that separate that person, that make him or her slightly better. To have little late night conversations. How many people in this room have I had late night conversations over a glass of whatever at conferences? And how much have we all enjoyed that? That's what's great about hypnosis. And I want to make that better. I want to make that more fun and more rewarding for you. And here's what I think could do it. My arbitrary rules for making the hypnosis industry more fun. My arbitrary rules for making it more rewarding for you go a little something like this. You should have 700 hours of hands-on training with at least 4 different people who disagree with each other. Already I've lost a few of you. And that's okay. Number 2, no teaching something, writing a book, creating a product until you've been doing that thing for 5 years. And that's not because you can't be good at it in under 5. I don't want that to be the message I'm sending. You can get great at something much faster than that, but not everybody does. And I think it would be a lot better if when you bought a product, you knew somebody had been dedicating time to this. Number 3, stop calling each other experts. Stop. We overuse that word as a community. We overuse the word expert. I lost more of you on that. We love that word. We do. We love the word expert. I'm an expert. I'm an expert in NLP. Really? I'm an expert at these. We use so many words that are Dungeons and Dragons. We use so many words. I'm a master of this. I'm an expert at this. And we want to use these words to build ourselves up. That's okay. It's confusing. It's confusing. So, here's my rule on how you can start using the word expert. When somebody who disagrees with you calls you an expert, that's what an expert. That's it. Simple. I like the 10,000 hours thing. I really do. That Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours. I like that. But let's just simplify it. When somebody who disagrees with you says, well, look, you're an expert on this, so we'll just defer. That's when you're an expert. That's when you get to start using the word. You might be an expert before then. But let's just see if that's when we start using it. Yeah? I think that was fun. A couple more. This one's really simple. Stop talking badly about other hypnotists. Stop. Even if you're right. Even if they suck. Stop it. Even if you hate them. Stop it. Just stop it. It's not what we need. It doesn't make the conversation more interesting. A subset of that is if you don't like an organization or a school or the way somebody conducts their business, okay. Okay. When you feel like venting on the internet, do it in an email and then don't hit send. You can vent all you want. That's allowed. But when you feel like getting frustrated, when you feel like, why isn't the industry doing it my way? Why are the people not prepared the way I would like them to be? Why isn't everybody doing things my way? When you start feeling like that, and you like to complain about it, do better. You go do better. Get better. Get better at what you do. This is a small enough industry that you have a voice and can be heard. This is a small enough community that it doesn't take very much work to get a big following on Facebook and have your own soapbox. I did it by accident. You can have a big, passionate voice. That's not the challenge. The challenge is listening to the other passionate guy. When she's passionate, are you listening? When she's certain, are you trying to help her? Are you picking the people you agree with and building something impressive? Or are you giving excuses on why somebody else is keeping you from doing it? Now, I'm going to lay this all the way out there. There were people who were upset that we allowed stage hypnosis and street hypnosis at this conference. That's true. There are people who disagreed with our allowance of erotic hypnosis. And here's my honest answer. I like good hypnotists. I think good hypnosis is good publicity. I think good hypnosis is good. I think bad hypnosis in any field, in any application, is the mistake. I just saw something funny through out, I was going to say. What's that? Yeah, I lost the other. Yeah, that's probably what it was. It was people just walking out. I'd like us to make a commitment to being more academic, to being more educated. Here's why. We've got a lot of people who are copying off the kid next to them. We go to a training, we get the script book, and then we read it without ever analyzing it. The problem is, you don't even know if the person you're copying off of did the homework. We've got a lot of people copying off the kid who never did the reading. That's a problem. And it's the blind leading the blind. You should know better. You should know better. As an individual. The way I like to think of how good you should be at hypnosis goes a little something like this. 5 years from now, somebody you love is going to need hypnosis. I don't know what for. and I don't know where they live. But they're going to need hypnosis for something kind of tricky. How much training do you want the hypnotist who's going to see your family member to have? If you don't have that much training right now, go get it. Go be the person that you say, I want my family member to have this much training. I want my family member to go to somebody, with this much training. That's it. It's not about ego. It's not about how much money you make doing this. It's not about who's in your way. It's not about any of the excuses we've come up with. Some of you already know this. When I started doing this, I had negative money in my checking account and thousands of dollars of debt. I was doing house calls because I couldn't afford anywhere near an office, and some of the drives I was making on my house calls, I was maybe losing money going to the house and gas money. That's where I was. And I worked my butt off, and I didn't do any get-rich-quick schemes. If you're looking for the next fad, if you're looking for the next get-rich-quick scheme, you're going to need to find the next one too. And then the next one, and then the next one. Get great at this, and that won't be a problem. Get great at this, and you won't need to do that. Get great instructors, and there are people in this room who would love to mentor you. I am so fortunate to have had people like Michael Elder and Jim Duncan, who isn't here, and Janet Macy, and a lot of other people, and Richard Clark, let's not forget him. It's mostly his fault. I am this one. And by the way, to Richard, just a quick thing. I was going to not do this, but I'm doing it. Thank you. The only reason this conference is happening is because of Richard Clark. Richard dragged me, kicking and screaming, to making this happen. And anything that's gone wrong is probably because I screwed it up, because he worked his butt off for this thing. And I count on you as much as you hate me and as much as they hate you. But thank you. Get mentors. There are people in this room who are waiting in line to help you. There are people in this room who want nothing more than to see a new hypnotist with passion and a willingness to work hard. There are people in this room who will lose money doing it. And they will go out of their way and bend over backwards to help you be good at this if you prove to them you mean it. Never let a problem become an excuse. Don't let things get in the way of your ability to be great at helping people. And a quick note to the people who have schools, who have organizations, certifying bodies, and all the thought leaders. Thank you for what you've done so far. Thank you. Over the last 30 years, you've done a lot of really important stuff. Let's start from scratch today. We're rapidly coming to a point where your value needs to be re-evaluated individually, because the things you've been selling are now freely available online. And there are good hypnotists who will never go to any school now. YouTube and a lot of websites, including but definitely not limited to Hypnothoughts, have made that possible. We need to figure out what you're bringing to the table starting now. And defensive legal action to maintain the status quo is no longer compelling enough. We need to do better at challenging you to make your job more rewarding. And you guys can do better if we make you. And you all know that, which is why you're here. So this isn't a threat against an organization at all, because they get it. This isn't a call to arms or anything melodramatic. This is a challenge to you individually to rise to the occasion and get better. And if you think I'm talking to not you, If you're nodding and looking out of the corner of your eye to that other dude at your table, I'm especially talking to you. I'm especially talking to the person who thinks this doesn't apply to them. The people like me who've gotten lazy sometimes, who get lackadaisical in their office and start believing the God complex stories. Get out of your office. Go to a training every other year in person and mix it up. Go to a different conference, go to a different live training, go see different stuff. It's such cool stuff out here. We've got hypnotists doing things that would blow your mind. And there are hypnotists all over the world right now doing things that are just remarkable. That a lot of people aren't even aware of. There's a lot of stuff I'm not aware of, and I see it on Hypnothoughts. Hypnothoughts has been visited by all 7 continents. We had 2 researchers in Antarctica who were coming for a little while. They were getting bored down there, so they were showing up. And then they're gone now, so we don't get any hits from down there. But as I look at all the activity from all these different countries, I think, what's hypnosis like in Africa? In South Africa, what's hypnosis like? And we've got members who are doing it, and we get to talk to them. What's it like in Taipei, or Australia, or Canada, or England, or some of the other countries that we have represented here tonight? It's so cool to see. Get curious about this. Don't settle for being okay at this. Don't settle for that. It's such a distant second place, and you can do so much better. Don't you want to be great at this? Haven't you seen a person in your office get better and just say, wow? Have you ever had a person in your office tell you what's wrong, and you think to yourself, holy shit, this person's messed up. They really need help. And then you realize that help is you. And you think, this person is screwed. Don't you want to have an answer to that? Don't you want to avoid that? People are counting on you to take care of their family. People are counting on you to be the professional. And they are thinking and believing that you didn't copy off the person next to you. They think you synthesized this information and understand it. They think you understand the mechanics of why things are happening. They believe that you have a clue. And I hope you do too. And more than that, I hope I do. Because I'm not saying I'm awesome and we should all meet my standards. I'm saying I've got a lot to do too. I'm saying we have a lot to do together, and that's the fun part. Because I realized with my nephew a few years ago at Christmas, the worst curse you could ever put on a 6-year-old boy is, I wish that all your Legos would come assembled. Because building is the fun part. Putting this thing together is the exciting part. Just having it done on the shelf isn't neat. Getting an award is okay, but earning an award is where it's like valuable. What are you guys earning? What kind of practice are you earning? Because the PR hypnosis has is the PR hypnosis is earned. This isn't about marketing. This is about substance. This is about having the goods and being able to back it up. And I see a room full of people who want that. And I see a room full of people who, a lot of you guys are already there. I hope I don't sound condescending. I just chastise everybody, sorry. But I don't mean to. I mean, this is the fun part. This is the fun part. That which is hard to endure is sweet to remember, and all those exciting quotes. The idea that you're going to get better at this. The idea that you're going to know stuff on Monday that you don't know right now. The fact that you're going to go to Brian's talk and walk out of that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And be able to know with confidence instead of just in theory, I thought Brian was wrong, but I've gone to his class and now I'm certain. That's okay to do. Go find out for yourself. I'm not saying agree with everyone. Does it sound like fun? To sit out here, and I'm going to end this quickly, I promise, so that you guys can spend some time talking with each other. So that you guys can spend some time actually hearing what each other does and listening. Don't just tell the story of that one interesting client you had, that one impressive story that you like to tell at conferences. Those 4 recent clients where you were awesome. That's good. I'm glad you had those. Save them. Save them. We all have one of those. It's good that you have them. Listen to each other. Start asking questions. Pretend hypnosis is your client. What would you tell them to do to get better? Listen to each other and start finding out what you've been missing. Find these little receding gaps of ignorance in all of our training and fill this out into something so much cooler. I love this job. It's the only real job I've ever had. I was talking to my wife about this recently, and I realized I've never had a boss, which is why I like to talk this indignantly. That's true, I've never had a boss. I work for doctors or dentists or whatever, clinical directors tell me what to do, but I have a practice. And in my practice, I'm awesome and I'm in charge, and people come in and they say nice things to me, they give me great feedback. And a lot of you are that way too. You're in your office and people come back and say, how are things going? And say, haven't smoked since Thursday. You give them a high five. Or lost 22 pounds. And that's great. I'm really, really glad that's happening. Good, good, good. And we can do more. Let's not reduce our scope of practice to stop smoking and weight control. Let's not hide our scope of practice. Let's earn what we all know is there. Let's earn that potential and make it happen. Doesn't that sound cool if we were the ones who did that? What if you were part of the generation of hypnosis that did that? There are people teaching in med schools right now that are unlicensed hypnotists. They're like you and me. There are people teaching in medical schools. There are people teaching in dental schools. There are people putting their foot in the door for you. There are people who are earning the respect that we can all enjoy if we're willing to put in the effort too. Don't you want to be part of that? Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be neat if you were the one who did it in your area? If you started a group? Yeah, you get money. Yeah, you make a lot of money doing it. But wouldn't it be cooler if 50 years from now, people knew that? I know names of hypnotists that I have never met because people like Michael Elmore told me about Saul. I know Saul was an important person in hypnosis because his legacy lives on in guys like Michael. And in a lot of years, I'll be sitting where Michael is and somebody will be saying, I once heard of a guy named Michael Elmer. What a whack job. Be part of a legacy. Help other hypnotists. Listen to what they need. Never let a problem become an excuse. And let's get what we all know we deserve. Let's get what we all know is possible. Get out of each other's way. Get out of your own way. And start learning how to be great at it. Start learning the fun and the silliness. And we're going to do a lot of silly things. We're going to do a lot of fun things. And we're very laid back. We're doing street hypnosis tomorrow night. Unofficially. I'm doing stand-up comedy in a couple days. We've got some great stage hypnosis going on. Marshall was very generous to give us some great tickets last time. A lot of us came to say thank you, Marshall. Mark Savard also offered some tickets, and some of you have been to his show. That's great. John's obviously back there. He's going to be doing a show on Sunday. We have... somewhere around here. They're doing a show on Sunday as well. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff, a lot of lighthearted stuff. We're going to be silly because when you're great at something, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want as long as you got the goods to back it up. I'm offering freedom. I'm offering wide open, way fewer rules, less fear of what if the APA doesn't like us? What if they didn't have to? What if we were totally qualified and we ruined their argument? Has anybody listened to their argument? Has anybody listened to their argument, or have you just talked back? Because their argument is actually a pretty decent one. You don't have enough training. That's it. Your standards are too low. Well, we can fix that. We can fix that really easily. What if you just did? What if a psychologist said, well, you only have 50 hours of training. You say, I have 900 hours of classroom training. And I understand neurology, psychology, psychopharmacology, biology, anatomy, critical thinking. And they go, okay. Have we listened to them? I thought we were communicators. It takes zero courage to yell, especially on the internet. It takes zero courage to criticize somebody for disagreeing with you. And intellect is about the ability to entertain their thought. Wisdom is about the ability to incorporate their ideas. And let's do that. Let's communicate. So this weekend is all about open communication. We're going to be sending all of you a survey online at the end of this weekend. We want all of your feedback, and I promise we're going to listen. We want to know what you thought about this. Individual presenters, what you liked about us. We know you don't like Richard. But put it down because it's good for him to read. We want your feedback because we want this to be great for you, because this is yours. This isn't an organization. I promise we're not doing this for money. Or we really screwed up. We want to be the beginning of a much more interesting conversation. And that starts with questions and listening and less about answers. So I'd like you to all start asking each other questions for the rest of the night. Start wondering what you think about the industry, the profession, and the modality. Those are three separate things. Who you like training with, who you've really enjoyed studying with, what classes you thought were very different that you never knew about, or what you want. Start finding out the answers to those questions from other people. I think we're on the beginning of something really cool. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for sitting through my soapbox. And we'll get back to having fun. Enjoy the appetizers. Tomorrow we have a full dinner. And we also have a leaders panel lunch where you can ask any question. We have a panel of a little over half a dozen hypnotists who are, thought leaders in the industry or owners of certified bodies. You get to open mic ask any question you want. So let's start asking questions. I'll see you guys around. Thank you very much.